Another wonderful thing that happens each and every day here on Morning Offering. It's time for a chat with Pat.
Oh, and today we have John Melnikov with us. He's been on before. He's a theology teacher based in Connecticut. He has a BA in Religious Studies from Fairfield and an MA in Christian Leadership from Liberty. Active parishioner at St. Jude's in Monroe, Connecticut. A regular contributor to the Catholic Exchange. This article was in Crisis Magazine. John, welcome, and I must thank you for this article. This has been on my mind for a while. I was so glad to see somebody write about it. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I've been looking forward to speaking with you again.
Yeah, this is a great article called Seeking Absolution from the Crowd, Confession in the Age of Algorithm. And John, there are so many wonderful quotes in this article from you, but I want to pull out a couple and then get you to kind of delve in a little bit, because in this article, you're talking that we've got kind of a younger generation, and I would say just not younger, but it's more about likes than sin.
Mm-hmm.
And also you say it's not about moral discussion and truth and honesty on social media, but validation from our society.
Right.
So I take it that is why you wrote this article, to delve into those things. But can you give us a little more insight here into this article?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So as a high school teacher, I see this on the front lines of my profession every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it'll come in the form of, I'm watching a couple of kids, they're laughing at something, and I'll sort of pick their brain a little bit, and after some prying, it'll come out that one of them maybe, or one of their friends has posted something, that probably shouldn't have been posted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first step. And then there's this sort of snowball down the hill kind of reaction, and then the person realizes they probably shouldn't have posted it. And this actually happened a couple times last year, and I don't want to get too deep into their
Sure.
personal lives. That's for their parents, but
Right.
The resolution always seems to be them returning to the same medium where they, whatever their social media platform is, if they posted their goofiness, to post their mea culpa there.
Uh-huh.
And what's interesting about that is, in the Catholic school where we have Lenten confession campaigns and Advent confession campaigns,
Right.
the chapel is packed seeking confession.
Yeah.
So it's not like this generation, the younger generation, has decided that confession, there's no more efficacy and there's no more need for it. They just changed their priest.
Uh-huh.
Now they're going to social media, and they're taking what used to be confession,
Mm-hmm.
and they've privatized their own confessional and their own little social media landscape, and made the audience the judge. And it's the validation of people saying enough like kind of gets them to this point where they think, hey, listen, enough people like what I've done, so how bad can it really be? And then they have sort of absolved themselves.
I mean, you had it, I think, on the nose, and one of your lines is the smartphone pulpit has replaced the confessional for far too many, and there is. And you use the example of Jesse Ridgway. That was a big story online. He and his wife, and I'm not familiar with it. I don't follow him. But he and his wife were pregnant and were excited about it, and then found out their child had Down syndrome, and they aborted. And they just said that online like it was nothing. And they really didn't even apologize. I mean, like, even when they got some blowback, they were surprised by that. And they kind of tried to make it okay. I mean, how does that fit into all of this? What does that kind of show us?
That was wild. I mean, I couldn't believe their reaction. They seemed to expect the internet to function like as a confessional,
Right.
offering unconditional absolution. Instead, what they got was the crowd is a terrible substitute for mercy. I mean, and, what struck me the most wasn't that they publicly celebrated an abortion, which is essentially what they did. I mean, they put out there into the world that they were excited about their pregnancy. However, some testing had shown the child may have Down syndrome, and they chose their own convenience of life over this life they were bringing in, their own lives, into bringing this new life into the world. And it was that they genuinely seemed surprised that not everyone celebrated with them.
Yeah.
It invites the entire internet, essentially the whole world, into one of the most morally contested religious, social issues imaginable, you can't be shocked when not everyone applauds with you. That floored me, that their reaction was so genuinely pushed back that people weren't jumping on board saying, oh, thank God you aborted that child. What a wonderful couple you were. It was horrific.
Yeah. And I think it points out, too, that as they tried to explain why they did it, it really wasn't from a stance of penitence. It was a stance of trying to get people to agree with them. At least that was my read on it. How did you see it?
Well, so their initial reaction was, they took a couple days and then they posted another video. And what it was essentially a doubling down of the worries and fears that they had. Mm-hmm. There was no penitence for what they'd done. Mm-hmm. As in, even mentioning the child as this loss is something that we're grieving now to the point of, excruciating emotional and spiritual pain. No, it was just, hey, look, guys, this is why we did it. We have a certain lifestyle we'd like to maintain. And, a child who potentially has Down syndrome would have put a real crimp in that. Like, why aren't you getting on board? Mm-hmm. And again, so when I decided to write the article, that was actually, I think, the catalyst that took a match and turned it into a roaring fire, because I couldn't fathom the idea of somebody being shocked that the entire world wasn't celebrating something horrific with them.
But John, don't you think that what you're talking about here has always gone on, but it's been a private thing? So like when we want to do something wrong, we talk to people we know that will agree with us. We don't we don't want to be challenged. But now that whole thing is taking place in a very public forum. I mean, is that how you see it?
Oh, I see that. I think what it is, it's when you take something that you've done and you put it out there into the public, as you just mentioned quite rightly. For the longest time, you turn to a trusted friend, a family member, someone that you know is going to give you not just words that you want to hear to make you feel better in the moment, but is going to tell you something or help you through this in a manner that's going to actually, benefit you. Now it's gone out into the public, and I think what it is we are so used to our lives being lived kind of within two, 1 foot in the real world, 1 foot in the digital world, that once you put something even as egregious as abortion out into the digital world, you are expecting like-minded folks to fight that fight for you.
Right.
Meaning, if you're look for if you're trying to find peace from your comment section, good luck. But there will always be somebody out there who will carry water for you, or who will fight for you just because they enjoy the idea of fighting online.
Yeah.
So when we put it into the public, we're bleeding the essential core of conversation and mentorship out and diffusing it amongst potentially millions of people, and then basically just kind of letting it soak out there.
Yeah.
If you put one drop of food coloring in a cup of water, you'll see a lot of that food coloring. But if you drop it in a lake, you don't see anything, and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
That's a good analogy, and I love your quote from St. Catherine of Siena. That's a great quote. Cry out with 100,000 tongues. I see that the world is rotten because of silence. Wow, that is an amazing quote. And John, I could talk to you forever about this. You have so many wonderful things in here about validation replacing the sacrament of reconciliation. I could talk to you more, and I'll see if I can get you on my other show. Thanks for being with us today.
You let me know. I'll be there.
All right. Thanks, John. I have a good week ahead.
Thank you very much.